Hello and welcome. My name's Steve Beckles-Ebusua, the speaker with the orange tie. And guys, welcome to the Orange Room. Those that don't know anything about me, I'm a motivational speaker. I go to schools, colleges, universities, and companies in the UK, Europe, and in the States. What I talk about belief systems. I'm a great believer that beliefs determine what we gain in life. And I think if you can overcome those self-defeating belief systems, there's no stopping you achieving what you'd like to achieve in life. So that's really what I do. I also deliver soft skills training. Now, what's this all about? Now, I've been delivering this since the lockdown, really, where I just thought during the lockdown, I thought it'd be great to add value. In my previous video, if you've had a chance to see it, I talk about value added techniques. And I want to kind of give you those techniques every day or every one of my sessions to help you, not just to, I think, get through the whole situation, but to kind of get you to grow. And as I stated earlier, kind of grow from it. So it's really exciting. And today we're going to be talking about a topic which I think is really at the heart of most of us. But let me get my prop. Here we go. Hey, the trainer. Yeah, okay, trainer. It's my trainer that I use when I'm going jogging, obviously orange. And the strap line I have on the video you would have seen, I'm not a celebrity, but get me out of my house. Now you might be familiar with the program I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. And I thought I'll play with words because I think getting people out of their houses is, I think, going to be a long-term problem since this pandemic. I think we've been conditioned, we've been told, we've been, given advice to stay indoors, stay at home. And I'm not saying that's bad advice, but what I'm saying, it's like all things. If you do something over and over again, it then becomes subconscious behavior. And I think many of us, especially as now winter has come along and it's a lot darker. I mean, around 6:30, it's dark. And that thought of going out is just not going to happen. And I think a lot of people are defaulting to staying indoors. Now, this particular session is not about kind of getting out there jogging like you saw with the trainer, but it's being able to realize that you have to get out, and staying in amongst your four walls is not long-term a good thing for yourself. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you some tips to help you to look at where you're at the moment. I mean, if you're getting out quite a lot, that's great, but listen to this anyway. But if you're not, I just think this could be quite useful for yourselves. All right. So let's get this show on the road. Tip number one. What is your why? What do I mean by that? What is your why? Now, your why is important. In other words, for you to come out of the house, you must have a why. You must have a reason to do it. I think it was Les Brown that once said, if your why is big enough, your how doesn't matter. Because your why is big enough, you've got a big enough drive, it doesn't matter how you think you're going to do it. You will, because your why is big enough. I think it's really important to write down why you want to get out more. And it might sound obvious. And I think it was what Einstein said, that geniuses think on paper. So once you write it down and say, look, this is the reason why I need to get out. So for example, of the obvious one, to be healthier, but also in mind as well. As I stated earlier, I think being amongst the four walls is quite easy to fall into, as you constantly hear this area has been locked down, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. To be honest with you, the whole thing's just bringing me to tears. Because, people are unsure what to do. However, you are able to go out. So this is part and parcel of it. What is your why? Make a list. So it could be the health. It could be your mental health as well. It could be just to get out and get some fresh air. It could be to feel better, not being amongst the four walls. Writing down your whys, I think, is very important. For when you lie there and you think, oh, I can't be asked. You've got your whys, your 4, 5, how many whys you've got, to make you think, do you know what, I need to get my trainers on or get my shoes on and just go for a walk. All right, it's very, very important. And what you realize is once you get into the habit, like a lot of things in life, it becomes a natural progression for you to do, and it's quite natural to do. All right, so that's your why. That's number one. Number two, and this is really important, what you need to do is when you do go out, and I'm assuming you're walking here, not jogging, but measure your walking progress. Now you might be thinking, Steve, well, it doesn't matter, I just want to go for a walk. I get that. However, why not kind of incorporate your health at the same time? Now, I got a Fitbit. I've had it for about 3 years. I'm just so grateful for it, and it's just changed my life. Why? Because it's motivated me to maybe go for that walk, to get a certain amount of steps, which I'm going to talk about shortly, in order to kind of hit my target. Now, this is really important, and I think when you start measuring what your achievements are, things become easier to achieve. Now, I'm obviously talking about me having a Fit, but however, you might have on your phone. Yeah, I mean, we all have mobile phones, or large majority of us. I think it's Pedometer. It's an app on the Apple phone, and I think there's an equivalent on the Android as well, which also measures your steps. So if you're thinking, well, financially can't afford to get a Fitbit, you could do it on your phone. And obviously the Fitbit, you've got other features, and that's why people do have Fitbits as well. But on the phone, it can still count your steps. Okay, and this is really important, because what you start thinking about is that when you can start measuring your progress, things then become easier to achieve. Why? Because when you hit that mark, you've achieved it. I'm going to talk about that very shortly, when you start hitting targets and reaction to doing that. All right, so number one, find out your why. And it's got to be a big why. Make it a big why. Your health, maybe losing weight. I mean, I've known people to lose weight just by walking. So that could be an incentive as well. Also looking at measuring your walking progress. How far are you walking? But we're going to go into details to how we actually do that. And the next thing is to set some targets. Now, I was reading about the whole kind of step Fitbit thing, and the average person walks between 3,000 and 4,000 steps in a day. Okay, that's just like average. Now, what I want you to start thinking about is setting some targets for yourself. Yeah? Setting targets that what you're going to complete after, say, a week. How many steps will you complete in a week? Okay, so setting targets are very important, and I think it was trying to remember his name now, Simon Sinek, that once said is when you're clear on your route, when you're clear on your destination, you could be flexible on your route. All right, so when you're clear on your destination, if you get knocked slightly, because you'll know where you're going, you can be flexible on the way to where you need to get to. Does that make sense? So writing it out is the next thing, but let me just, number 3 is set those targets. So in your head, in your mind, start thinking, yeah, I'd like to maybe walk maybe 3,000, maybe 4,000, but you must think about that. Okay, that's for you to think about. Number 4, hey, let's go for it, guys. It's all about the chart, guys. It's all about the chart. Here is a chart. Now, as you can see, it's a little bit worn, but it's a chart I put together to help myself. This is a kind of a chart for myself, accomplishing certain amount of steps per day. Now, as you see, you've got your days along the top, and you've got 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. Now I've finished at 5,000. At the moment, as a regular, believe it or not, I'm actually trying to do 20,000 steps a day. So, but I break those up, but I've stepped it up. But I did start on a chart similar to this. What's this all doing? It's setting goals and targets for you. There's a chemical called dopamine, and dopamine is a feel-good chemical. It's also a chemical used when you've completed a goal. You get a rush of dopamine. So if you hit a target, you get a rush of dopamine. Companies, I should say, are constantly setting targets for their employees, because when they hit them, bang, they get a reward or they get a bonus, because constantly having targets is very important. If you have no targets, I mean, how would life be? You would be drifting. So it's important to set those targets. Okay, so number 4 is to have that chart. Make your chart up, make it a lot neater than mine. I think it's even got like a drink stain on there. But you know what? It's just a rough one when I first started up. And again, like I said earlier, Einstein said geniuses think on paper. So it's a good guide for you. What's this all about? Hopefully this is motivating you and inspiring you to get out of the house. And that's really what this is about. Whether you do 1,000 one day or you do 4,000, it's not really the issue. It's just about you having a system to get you out and get you active. Okay, so let's have a quick recap. We have got one more to go. Let's have a quick look at it. We looked at what is your why. Find out what your why is. Okay, and please make it big, because it's really, really important that it is big in order to drive you when you're feeling a little bit kind of down. The second one is measure your walking progress. So this is now getting into devices. We spoke about the Fitbit, we spoke about the mobile phone, but measuring your progress. Okay, it's not something you have to do, but the reason I'm bringing this in is that it gives you indicators of how you're doing. Number 3 is start setting your targets. Okay, so I said the average person walks between 3,000 and 4,000 steps in a day. I personally, if that's the case, start with 5,000. Yeah, if you don't do a lot of walking, start at 5,000. Okay, and so you'll have Monday and you try to get those 5,000 steps in. Now, I'm very aware that it is getting dark, and I said that earlier on. What I also recommend, this is kind of a nutritional thing for me, I try to eat if I can before 6:30. All right, because 6:30 onwards gets dark anyway. So if you can maybe get something to eat, or eat at maybe 6 o'clock, it then gives you half an hour to do your walk before it gets, really dark outside. But it's for you to plan anyway. Okay, but that's just something I do. Number 4 is the chart, as you saw earlier, work of art. Yeah, Tony Hart, eat your heart out. Tony Hart's a certain age. But finally, it's the 3-2-1. Now, the 3-2-1, this is the approach that will get you to get it done. Now, I have got the 3-2-1 in a video, so I am going to refer you to my my video channel, my YouTube channel, which is Orange Online Learning, and you'll see it. It's the 3-2-1 motivation, I think it's called. I'll briefly explain. It is about when you count down from 3 to 1, something happens in the brain that kicks you to ignite your prefrontal cortex, and that's when you should act. However, the video explains it a lot clearer and in a lot more detail, but it's very important you do see that. And as I said, you can see that on my channel, and it will just put everything into perspective, because you're going to need that as that indicator to get you to get up and get things done. Now, guys, boom, there we go. It's my little boom there. I hope that's been useful. I think what's very important, it's something that Jim Rohn once said, is that we can't control the blowing of the wind, but we can control the setting of our sail. And what that means, and it's so kind of relevant for today, is what the government do with their tier 1s, tier 2s, tier 3s, and all the rest of it. We actually, as individuals, can't control that. If the government decide to lock down something, that's what they've decided. That's like that wind blowing that you can't control. However, the sail is you. All right, you can control you. So it's how you adjust to that blowing of the wind, okay, which then could be beneficial to you. Okay, guys, double boom. I hope that has been useful. It's all about learning, and as you know, and as you've heard me say, it's all about you not just kind of going away and thinking, oh, that's useful, but it's about actually taking action. I read somewhere, and you've probably heard me say before, and it's important, the best thing to do is the right thing, the next thing to do is the wrong thing, but the worst thing to do is nothing. It's about taking action. And it was, I think it was Mel Robbins said that if you've got a problem that you know can be cured with action, you haven't got a problem. And I like that, because it's about taking action. Guys, thank you so much. I hope you have enjoyed it. Like I said, you can get hold of me on Orange Online Learning. Go to YouTube, yeah, Orange Online Learning. Also, if you want to find out a bit about me, you can go to my website, www.thespeakerwiththeorangetie.com. Guys, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you on my next video. Take care.